We're just waiting for Abrima. There we go. Hello, beauty. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being interested in sustainability. Since, this is our thing anyway, we originated it. So my name is Whitney McGuire. I am here from Brooklyn, New York. I work in sustainable fashion, sustainable art. I'm currently the Associate Director of Sustainability at the Guggenheim Museum in New York City. And I also have a consultancy where I support brands and organizations who want to deepen their sustainability impact and learn more about sustainability. So I'm so excited to be joined by, I would say, just my friends in this space. We've got Archelle, we've got Miko, we've got Abrima, such dynamic women. I'm going to go ahead and let you all introduce yourselves, and we can just jump right into defining sustainability. What does that mean to you? Because it's become such an amorphous term that it's really, necessary for us to ground ourselves in a definition. And then I want you to let us know how that definition shows up in your work.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Archelle Bernard. I'm the head bombshell in charge of Bombshell. We have our factory in Monrovia, Liberia, and we have our stores, 2 stores in Atlanta, one at Pond City Market and one at Atlantic Mall. Yes. So sustainability for me is us trying to make sure that we are as mindful about the world that we can be as we create, because in truth, the most sustainable thing is for us to not make anything new at all. But if we're going to continue to be makers, what are ways that we can do it as sustainably as we possibly can, as mindfully as we possibly can? How that shows up at Bombshell, we use every little piece of fabric. So even if we have to buy new fabric, or when we make our tie-dyes and things like that, we try to make sure that we use every little scrap. So you can get a dress, you can get a scrunchie, you can get so many different things from one piece of fabric. And I just want to make sure that our footprint is as harmless as it can possibly be. So that's us.
Thank you. I love that. So minimum waste and, just making sure that we are responsive to the earth and our responsibility to the earth. Okay, Miko.
Hi, my name is Miko Underwood. I am the founder of Oak and Acorn, Only for the Rebels. It is the first sustainable denim brand that was born out of Harlem, New York. Very proud of that, Harlem baby. So we started the brand with I was in the denim industry for more than almost 2 decades at the time. And I had led so many denim brands from back in the day, from Baby Fat all the way to Academics and all these types of brands, Rockaware, that kind of stuff. And I never understood why there was information about denim that I never knew, which was the untold legacy of our relationship to denim. And our meaning Black folks. And so it was my job, I felt that it was to unearth that untold legacy as it relates to us, black people and indigenous people of this land, and the connection to indigo and denim. And Louisiana specifically, there are indigo plantations, the history of indigo plantations here. So I wanted to unearth that and share that to empower us, to show that we were the technology of this country, that we brought so much richness to so many different areas. And so sustainability for us, and at Oak and Acorn, it's mostly it's a 360 approach. First, it's about knowledge of self, wellness, taking care of yourself. Then it's how you show up in community. And for us, we show up with community in that we give back to a social impact partner that I'm very heavily involved in. It's called We Got Us Now. It's for children who've been impacted by parental incarceration. And we tell the story through our clothes. Our jumpsuit is our hero product, and it has a legacy that is within the incarceration space, the worker, the farmer, all of that. And so we deeply connected, and we give 20% of the proceeds from that to everyone, to that organization. And then third and lastly, we talk about fabric and using only sustainable fibers, hemp, recycled, biodegradable cotton, and just all of these fabrics. We love to work with repurpose. We repurpose as much as we can. We're always digging in the crates for Army, Navy, old denim. And then the last part of it is being able to operate in community. And so recently we just moved to LA so that we could make with real denim makers out in LA so that we could move our industry to really supporting in the US. Originally, when we launched our brand, we did small amount of our businesses in New York, but then we had about 80% that was in overseas, but now we have 90% that is here in the United States and 10% overseas, so we're really proud of that. And that's what sustainability looks like for us.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Miko. I love this idea of reclamation kind of being woven throughout the story of your brand. I don't know how many of you know, but indigo was a hidden commodity of the transatlantic slave trade. And so our ancestors' labor in indigo plantations actually supported much of Europe's economy and eventually our economy here in the United States. So it's a very significant plant. And I'm actually wearing indigo dyed shirt, so that was very intentional. Abrima?
Hi, that was so beautiful. Hi, my name is Abrima Erwiah. I have a brand called Studio 189. I'm half West African from Ghana and Ivory Coast and half American.
Woo!
Yeah. I'm born and raised in New York, and my mom is from Mississippi. I worked in the luxury fashion industry for a long time for brands like Bottega Veneta. And then at a certain point, I realized I started doing more charity work, and I wanted to do more impact-related work. And I was working with a lot of incredible artisans that were second, third generation, doing incredible handwork, and being able to feed their kids, send their kids to school, and taking control over their families. But then when I would visit my own country and other developing economies, I just wouldn't see it. There was a lot of kind of charity ideas, and it was just a very different way of doing things. And I started doing all this volunteer work. I went to Ghana, and people were making these beautiful objects, but a lot of it was coming from a place of feeling sorry for people and not from a place of beauty. And I was like, why can't we do the same thing that luxury goods companies do, where they charge all this money and they know their supply chain and they empower the people without it always having to be this like looking down on you place. And I was trying to get somebody else to do it because, it's a lot of hard work. And I couldn't get someone else to do it. And the brands didn't really understand because everything was very siloed. So there was like people who care about people were kind of in the charity space. People who wanted to do business were here, and people who loved fashion were there. And there was a lack of intersectionality. And then I discovered the work of Muhammad Yunus, who created social enterprise and microloans, which is the idea that even providing a small loan of $20, $50 can be enough to bring somebody out of poverty, to fix their sewing machine in places where women are oftentimes not deemed credit-worthy, and yet they're very credit-worthy. And so I thought, okay, I would like to make a social enterprise. And one of my best friends, who's now my business partner, invited me to the Democratic Republic of the Congo for something called the City of Joy, which is a leadership center for women who'd been the victim of rape and sexual violence, where it's used as a weapon of war since many, many years. And what I found there was the most incredible women who had been through much trauma, and they would take the proceeds from what they were making, and they would buy farmland and farm cassava, feed their kids, send their kids to school. And I thought, that's what happens when you empower a woman, what she can do with a dollar. And so we went from this idea of coming top down with a business plan to realizing, as you were saying, that it really has to happen within community and go bottom up. And communities that are all over the world, marginalized communities, how do we impact change there? Because they're already doing it. So it wasn't so much about having a great idea, but it was about empowering ideas that were there and starting to connect the dots along supply chains. With that, the following year, so this is 2013, V-Day said 1 in 3 women will be raped and sexually violated in her lifetime, and she asked for 1 billion people to take a stance against sexual violence. We said that a lot of people that make your things have been through a lot of stories that you don't know. and that we could change that narrative, and so we called that fashion rising. And we said fashion could be an agent of social change. And so the idea behind that is every time you buy a piece of an article of clothing, anything at all, really you're impacting a supply chain. Every single time we're making a decision about the type of world we choose to live in and which people we would like to support. And that was that idea. So I went back to Ghana, I moved there, I started working with local artisans, doing hand batik, indigo dyeing, kente weaving, and really just chasing the supply chain. So if you, for example, buy cotton that's sourced from a specific company that I won't name, you may not realize that they're buying millions of yards or thousands of yards from a community that can't access organic cotton because it's being bought out by somebody else. So this way, we're giving access to local communities to be able to create within their own community and create something locally. Fast forward, we opened a factory with the United Nations where we create clothing, we've trained artisans, we make lots of different clothing that we sell at Bergdorf Goodman and online and ShopUp. But the idea really is making modern clothing using traditional techniques, empowering supply chains, and building circular systems so that way everything you create, from the raw material to the farmer, to the grower, to the weaver, to the dyer, to the spinner, every step along the process you can trace, bring it back home. That's why I love indigo, because indigo never goes away. It's a natural dye, and it can stay in your supply chain and it doesn't go to waste, which for me is really important because I know the question was about sustainability. Fashion contributes, and I'm sure we're going to touch on that, 10% of CO2 emissions, more than airlines and all these things combined. So how powerful is it if we take back control of that narrative in our work? And that's for me what sustainability looks like. It's about people, it's about the make, it's about humanity, it's about empowerment, and it's about giving people the tools to be able to do it themselves in a sustainable way so we exist in the future.
Mic drop. Yes, give it up for our panelists and their definitions of sustainability. Abrima, that is so wonderful, and I think you guys can tell that Abrima is also an educator. I love this idea of reclamation that's like woven throughout, your brand story as well as empowerment and circularity. We know that our system right now, our fashion system, is very much based on a linear model, right? We take the materials, we make the things, and then we waste them. And there are no streams to sort of connect that waste stream back to the taking, the making, and so et cetera. So that's why these brands in particular are so important and so pivotal in the future for us. We cannot continue to waste and consume at the scale that we have been. So if you, Abrima, actually can just mention again how significant the fashion industry is of a contributor to the current climate crisis that we're in, so that we kind of can set the context for why this work is so vital.
Well, one statistic is 10% of carbon dioxide, which means when we see incredible hurricanes or terrible climate disasters, fashion is a contributor. We don't oftentimes think about that because a lot of the materials we use are synthetics because they're cheaper. So for example, something that's polyester based, which a lot of the cheaper clothes are made out of, is made using plastic, and plastic is made from oil and gas. So when you're buying those things, you're actually supporting the oil and gas industry. Or when you're buying a lot of small goods and you're making and selling and buying it, it's individually packaged in plastic, and just all of these things contribute. So I like to say, for example, a t-shirt, just for context, is 2 years of drinking water. So when somebody's making a lot of t-shirts for, a match, a soccer match, the Olympics, you don't know who's gonna win. And also when they're designing for a massive store, they don't know what you're gonna like. So they're designing lots of stuff. And then in the end, maybe like 2 items you love and the rest goes where exactly? Because you're not really keeping it long. You're keeping it maybe like twice as long, 4 times as much purchases, and it has nowhere to go. And where that ends up is either clogging landfills, and most likely somebody's donating it. And I'll just end with this one. It's donating it, it's going in a container. Somebody thinks they're giving it away for free, but it's not being given away for free. It's being sold back to Africa. And that is becoming lots and lots and lots and lots of goods that women are buying and then reselling for very cheap. And then that becomes waste, and that waste clogs sewages, and water sits, and storms begin, and then you get cholera, and then you get malaria. So like a $1 purchase for most people in the world is not a $1 purchase, and there's unintended consequences that impact all of us. And so like that's really where your things go.
Right, thank you. And you're speaking to this. You brought us through a journey of the material side, the environmental impact, and now we're segueing into the social impact of these behaviors, because these have really very real consequences on communities, especially communities of color, especially communities throughout the global South. So I know that all of you work within community. Can you speak, Miko, about your work specifically within community? And then Arshel, if you want to also chime in, I would love to hear more about that.
I would just like to add to because what Abrima said was so powerful. I'd like to add to that. I think now people are becoming so much smarter about what they consume and how they consume. I think the pandemic has forced us to look at okay, what are the things that we're putting on and in our bodies? And that's why we say sustainability starts with ourselves first. And so I say, take this as an opportunity to think about what you're putting on your body, because your body, your skin is your first organ, right? So if you're putting petrochemicals and plastics, nylon, think about your underwear, all of that, and then you're being more intentional. I see women now online who are making baby wipes for their children because they're understanding how many different perfumes and chemicals are put into these products. So if you would put it on your child, think about what you want to put on yourself now, and that. And as far as community goes, the question was how we show up in community?
Yeah, I mean, just in terms of waste streams, right? Because we're getting to this idea that I'm expanding on, that it's not just about the wasting of materials and sources, natural resources, but it's also, we're seeing this trend of our communities are considered waste,
Yeah.
And your work is very responsive to sort of mitigating that.
Yeah, I mean, we do this twofold for us, in that for us it's important to reclaim. I mean, we work even with our cutter and reclaim all of the denim scraps, and we utilize that in our products. We actually go and search and find archival pieces that are from the American military, old denim, and reclaim it and make it into our product and use it in myriad ways. But also I think it's important, just our social connection to the prison industrial complex and the criminal justice space, and recognizing how our community has been devastated and impacted by the criminal justice system. And for us, it's a personal story for me. My dad was incarcerated for 33 years of my life. He just came home a couple years ago, thank God. But it is a story that many of us share, in that having someone that we love incarcerated and how that impacts community. So the organization that we work with, We Got Us Now, is about empowering the voices of the children and families, but also being able to connect with the fact that, think about the financial impact, the emotional impact, and so we deal with sustainability, as we said again, from self. So we think about health and wellness. A lot of times my partner and I we actually show up for the community and actually we guide meditations for the community. We make products for the community. We do a lot of creative direction for that community. So for us, that's how we show up in community to actually make a real impact.
Thank you.
For me, I just have 2 points. From the consumer side, more is not always more. And I think that's to the point that you guys are talking about now. It's like we can spot the cheap things on people. And so it's nice when we can invest in nice things that we will keep and want to wear over and over again. So from the consumer side, more is not always more. If you buy smarter, you'll be able to wear those things, and that's how you can make your contribution. So from the designer or creator side, for me, I really love to produce in small batch. We run a pre-order. We're making just those sizes that we already know that we can sell, because I don't want to have an excess of 20, 30 pieces, nobody to sell it to next season. It's reaching a landfill. So from the creator side, consider creating in small batch. And I just think we can all do little things to do our part. It feels like such a big, daunting task to try to be sustainable and create sustainably and build these businesses where you are being mindful. But I really think that if we just focus on making those little shifts, then overall, a drop in a bucket can still fill a bucket.
Thank you so much. And I know we're at time, but I just want our panelists to leave you all with just one nugget, that you can take away with you. So my question is, what message would you like to leave the audience about the importance of sustainability in fashion, and how can consumers make more informed and sustainable fashion choices? I know you've sort of touched on this, but if you want to elaborate a little bit more, we'll take about a minute to do that. Okay.
I just gave y'all my closing thoughts. So, yeah, little baby steps can add to a sustainable environment for all of us. So,
I think that we're moving to a society where we are now appreciating the second and third life of garments. Like, a lot more people are thrifting. And I think because products were made with much more care, America was the place that exported to the other countries. We were the ones that were making the better products. And this is where the term homespun comes from. But if we reclaim that and really think about how we spend our dollar and what we're purchasing, and that item can be passed down to a family member, can be reused in a way, and I think that's what sustainability could look like.
Often, when people ask me, I always think about values, so I'm going with that too. I think it has to come from a place of love. I think so many things come from fear and scarcity, and marketing works that way too. You have to buy, this idea that you have to have. I think if it comes from a place of love, you'll really know what to do, right? Like if you ask 2 more questions and you're curious, even the vendors here, who made that? Did you make that? Do you make that? Oh, I make this. Just a couple extra questions about how something was made, where it was made, how someone feels about it. I think you'll build, as you probably already do, relationships with the items that you have, which will make it that you don't want to throw them away. You either want to hold on to them, mend them, care for them, or pass them to somebody else. And so I'll close with, I really love Adinkra symbols, traditional West African Adinkra symbols. And, I think we all know the Sankofa, which is you have to look back to know where you're going, so it looks like a bird. But we also really love this other one that basically means help me and let me help you, which is a symbol of intercooperation and interdependence, because that's basically where we are. We're all connected, and give ourselves that grace and just do it from a place of love, and I think we'll all get there.
Thank you so much. This has been so wonderful. Real quick, how can people stay in touch with you? Just give your @ real quick.
I'm on Instagram at itsarchel, ITSARCHEL.
At Oak, OAKAND, Acorn, Oak and Acorn Official on Instagram.
I love the official. At Studio 189, spelled out STUDO. I'm going to stop because I know we're out of time, but Studio 189 spelled out. Whitney, you're the best.
Thank you so much.
Whitney.
And you all can stay in touch with me at Whitney R. McGuire, MCG. And yes, thank you all for attending, and enjoy the rest of Essence Fest.
Thank you.
Thank you.